Welcome to Master B2B Mythbusters. I love that music, Andy. The intro gets mesmerizing. So it's awesome. Well, guys, this is a Mythbusters session. In Mythbusters, we take on an issue in e-commerce, a preconception that B2B companies have, and we find out if it's a myth or if it's the reality by putting a subject matter expert on the hot seat. And we have a doozy today, Andy. We're talking about sales tax Nexus. Before we do that, my name is Brian Beck, introduce myself, and then Andy Hoare is my partner in this effort. Andy spent 7 years at Forrester running the B2B e-commerce practice. He's the CEO of Paradigm B2B, industry thought leader, and a great partner as we dive into these topics. Andy, great to be here with you today.
Yeah, you as well. And so for those who don't know, Brian, he's a 17-year industry veteran. He worked at Harbor Freight Tools on the practitioner side. And he's the CEO of a company called Enciba, which is an Amazon-focused agency. I always forget to mention that. And lastly, in his free time, he wrote a book called $1 Billion B2B E-Commerce. So I don't know when you sleep, Brian, but yes, Brian, it's great to be here and loving this issue a lot. This is a surprising one, so I can't wait to dig in.
Yeah, me neither. So before we jump in on all that, and by the way, I've never paid sales tax. Just kidding. I think the police are knocking at the door. This just a few housekeeping items, guys. Before we jump in, this session, we want to hear from you. We want you to help us bust this myth or not. So ask your questions in the Q&A box. We're going to have a poll at the end of this session. This is a 30-minute quick hitting session here. And at the end of this, we're going to ask you whether you think our subject matter expert busted the myth or did not. So stay tuned for that, and we'll reveal the results once you vote. And what's at issue today, Andy, is whether B2B sellers need to care about sales tax Nexus, whether they're selling on their own e-commerce or whether they're selling through marketplaces like Amazon and other places. There's a lot of confusion around this issue, and we're going to bust this open today and really dig into this and find out. Andy and I don't think you have to pay sales tax anywhere. We're just kidding. But, we're going to dive into the issue just a bit now. So let's get right to it, Andy. Let's figure out who we have on the hot seat today. Robert, roll it. Oh, that feels so painful. I wouldn't want to be on that hot seat. Let's bring in our hot seat person. Silvia, the asphyxiator. Let me see if I do this right. Aguirre. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Wow, look at that.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome.
Did you wear your neoprene suit? I hope so, because that did not look fun.
I'm always on the hot seat, Brian.
Well, there you go. Okay. Well, you're prepared for our questions today. So, let's just jump right into it, guys, because we have limited time here and we want to get to the heart of the issue. Andy Hoare, ask your question, sir.
Yeah, so Silvia, the conventional wisdom is that I don't have to suffer from sales tax Nexus if I don't have a warehouse or a physical presence in a state, right? So I don't have to register if I don't have a warehouse, right?
Well, that's not true. Not true anymore. And let me tell you why. There was a case a long time ago, maybe our audience is familiar with it. It was Quill versus North Dakota that actually defined that you did have to have physical presence in a state to register and create Nexus. But almost 5 years ago, and keep that in mind, 5 years ago, this almost happened, the rules changed with another case, which was a Wayfair in South Dakota case. And so what that determined was that physical presence was not necessary anymore to create Nexus. Now we call it economic Nexus. And really, it's all based on the fact that there's a lot of more online transactions, B2B transactions, which is very much of interest, for you guys. So all of this kind of indirect touching of a state, not physically, but you actually are doing business in that state. And therefore, the court said, well, we need to change what we're doing because it's not 50 years ago, it's now today, and we're very much technologically advanced. And so therefore the state said, you have to register. Economic Nexus, you have to register. And then more specifically, just to give you a little bit more background, every state decided to define what it meant when you should register. And so an average state would say, Okay, if you sell over $100,000 into my state, then you have to register. Or if you have 200 transactions, imagine that. So if you send 100 invoices or 200 invoices, and every invoice was $1, it didn't matter that it doesn't add to $100,000. You send 200 transactions, invoices into the state, and it could only be $200, but you have to register. So there's a lot going on there, and it definitely changed.
But Silvia, yeah, all right, go ahead, Andy.
We're all going to jump in on this one. So
I know.
Are the thresholds different by state? So you said 200 or 100,000. Are some states lower than 100,000? Or some states lower than 200 transactions?
The average is 100,000, and I think there's some states that are 100 transactions, and some other states actually could go up to $500,000. So how are you going to keep up with that, right? I mean, you have to figure this out like right now. Well, actually, not right now. I'm going to tell you, you should have figured this out 4 years ago.
Okay.
4.5 years ago.
Hold on, Andy Hoare, you're missing the point as usual. So, Silvia. Okay, so that's fine, but I'm a B2B company. I don't need to pay sales tax. I'm selling to other B2B companies. I'm not selling to the end user. I don't have to pay sales tax. I don't have to worry about this. I don't believe you.
Oh, well, believe me. Well, actually, you don't have to believe me. You're going to have to believe the auditor when they knock on your door. And they say, why didn't you not register in my state? It doesn't matter. And the other thing that changed, obviously, was what does it mean, $100,000?
Right.
I mean, if you just said, I don't sell taxable items, you know, I mean, everything is resale. I mean, I don't do that. Exactly. It doesn't matter. You got money. It doesn't, is a gross sales. Wait.
I have to, hold on. I'm selling to someone else who's going to resell that product, and I have to pay sales tax. This is a scam.
No. What it is, is the states are asking you to do your, fiduciary duty. I mean, you actually are doing business in the state according to economic.
So I have to. So if I'm a B2B company and I sell to another buyer, someone else who's then going to resell that product, and I'm actually exempt from tax, right? Don't I have some exemption here, or do I just not understand this?
Well, no, you don't understand it, but let me
He said it, but I agree.
I know, Andy, I probably agree with me. What happens is it's like, okay, let's stick with the 100,000. You sell 100,000. And so because you're registering in the state, now you have to collect exemption certificates. So the state needs to believe in you and say, why didn't you charge the tax? If you didn't charge the tax, you need to collect exemption certificates. So imagine, Brian, today, maybe you're registered in one state, and all of a sudden you have to be registered in 30 states. And maybe you do sell for resale, you're not to the end consumer, but now you have to collect exemption certificates, over 30 states for everybody. And I can tell you, there's about 1,600 different exemption certificates out there. So you have to be on top of this rules and regulations and tax rates if you have to charge tax. And you have to report all of this to the states.
Okay.
So wait, so do I become like an agent of the state? Is that essentially what I'm doing?
That's exactly, you're working for the state. The state just stopped you and said, okay, now you need to collect this money for me. And by the way, don't keep it. You have to give it to me or tell me why you didn't give me the sales tax. So yes, you are basically applying for a job at the state and you got it.
All right. Fine. So there's products that can be exempt, from tax, right? So we talked about that, but you still have to track it. But I don't have to worry about services though.
Well, lots is changing. Lots is changing. First of all, and again, every state is a little different. So what I'm telling you right now, you still need to go review every single state, right? As we said, the thresholds are 100 to 500, transactions 100 to 200, but also in services. Some states say, well, it doesn't matter that you're doing services. That counts towards the threshold. And as a matter of fact, there's new legislation out there that is actually starting to tax services. So you need to get on top of that as well.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I have to worry about everything from products and services. But, at the end of the day, I can just have my accounting team do this. I don't need to, isn't this kind of just, how complicated is this really? So
Well, I'm not making it complicated, Brian. The states are making it complicated. And
it sounds like you're just trying to sell software.
I'm trying to make it easier for you.
I just give this to my accounting team, Sylvia, right?
Well, you could, but then you're going to have to spend tremendous amount of hours trying to figure out the rules and regulations, the tax rates. Did I mention there's over like 13,000 jurisdictions that you have to figure out? You know, I mean, so if you can keep up with all of that without software, and then you can keep up with all the exemption certificates, and then you report everything to the states, then go ahead and do that. But I can tell you, technology is the best solution. Even if it's not sales tax, it's just the way to go.
All right. Well, we have a question here from John White. He said, "Our gross sales," thank you, John, "are gross sales and numbers of transactions the only triggers? We collect and remit in a neighbor state because we have an employee working remote from that state. To my knowledge, that's the only reason we collect and remit to that state." Is that a myth?
Well, I'm glad somebody asked that. This is a perfect example. An employee is a physical presence. So yes, the old rule said if you had an employee, a warehouse, you know, if you used to go into the state to fix things, you know, then you're physically there. There's something physical. Even inventory. If you have inventory, it creates physical presence. The big difference on this question is like, yep, I'm glad you registered when you have the employee, but now you have to look at the gross sales and see if you cross the thresholds, regardless if you have an employee or not, or if you send those transactions into the state, the invoices. And yes, currently those are the two triggers that we have. But when you really think about it, you can cross those thresholds any day, anytime, right?
Are you trying to scare us? She's trying to scare us, Andy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't know if you're a CPA, but you're getting tax questions now. So there's another question that just came in. If I charge a fee for a seminar, but do not live in the state, is the fee for the program taxable? In addition, does that establish Nexus because I was in the state conducting the seminar? Again, I don't know if this is an area you know or not, but it's an interesting question.
That's a very deep question. Well, first of all, if you were in the state, you were physically there. So again, if you physically attend a state to do business, right? I mean, obviously you can go on vacation all day long. Nothing's going to happen. But if you are conducting any type of business, that includes trade shows as well. If you're there for a trade show, but if you're doing a speaking gig and you're there, you are, in a sense, have to categorize as physical presence. And then again, physical presence, though it sounds simpler, you still have to go to the states and figure out if you do have to register because maybe you just attended one trade show a year instead of 3 trade shows. So everything it depends, right? Charging a fee is a fee, right? There's no physical items being transported. It also depends, as I mentioned, services sometimes, depending on the state that you are collecting the money, could determine that there's taxability there. There's less of that. There's definitely less taxable services, like a fee for the seminar, but you have to pay attention to that legislation and figure it out.
Okay, so this all sounds very complicated. And Scott Pavic, thank you for your question. Here's the big question, Sylvia. How likely are states to go after an out-of-state company on this stuff? Scott,
Brian, are you asking for a friend? Is this what you're asking?
I'm not saying what's in the chat, dude. So, Scott, that's a great question. Sylvia, I mean, can we get away with it?
You can try. That's all I can say. You can try. I mean, following the rules, you should follow the rules. Everybody else should be following the rules. So that's all I can tell you about that. I mean, the states determine who's going to get audited and who's not going to get audited. But I can tell you this: if you do not follow the rules and you win the lottery and you get an audit, then you have to potentially not only register, collect sales tax, have a liability, and penalties and interest, which could average, we had a surveys done here at Avalara, could average over $50,000 just in penalties for not following the rules. So you have to follow the rules. That's my advice. Okay.
And by the way, I just realized we never actually asked you to introduce yourself, Sylvia.
I mean, do I need to at this point?
At this point, everyone knows. I'm sorry about that. Everyone on this session knows that Sylvia, by the way, guys, is an expert at this stuff, as you can tell. So, Andy, let's ask about different channels. I think that's another interesting area.
Well, actually, I have a question first. This is a follow-up question. I'm going to put you on the spot, something, because I'm just kind of curious myself. So if a distributor sells a product, let's say out of state, and a manufacturer is providing like an extended warranty for that particular product, it's being resold by the distributor, but it's actually the manufacturer is providing the service. Who collects the sales tax for that? Again, I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just kind of curious now with this, everybody's responsible. It sounds everybody has to be a registered agent in a state. And if you have any sort of economic nexus, you've got to pay. But I'm just curious, would the manufacturer who's just providing a support service have to collect sales tax for that?
Well, if you're getting money for it, right? And so if the manufacturer is the one selling the warranty, then that's probably an invoice, and that's probably they're getting paid, and therefore it goes towards economic nexus to figure out if they need to register. And there are some states, as we were discussing services, there are some states that could potentially charge sales tax on services. So you have to, again, check in every state. And then a distributor, they're getting paid by somebody else, and so they have to figure out if they should be collecting sales tax or exemption certificates. It's invoice based, right? So if you're getting paid, then it's your responsibility regardless of who you sold it to.
Oh my goodness, Danny, I'm going to get another job to pay for all the sales tax I now owe for the last 20 years. So, I mean, we're making a few people nervous here. Jamin asking, how far back in time do states try to collect taxes after an audit? I won't tell Jamin where you're from. So, okay. So
yeah, Jamin doesn't want you to use his last name.
No, the IRS is not on this call, I hope. Anyway, or the states, actually. It's the states. But Silvia, how far back do they go when they if they find some issues? I mean, they go back years, 1 year, more? How far back?
Well, actually, every state is different. Again, and I do, with my expertise that I bring, one of the first jobs I had in sales and use tax close to 30 years ago was being an auditor. Uh-huh. And so we got trained. And the idea of a state, again, is not to punish you, to say, oh my God, you're not following the rules, you're not doing what you're doing. But they are, in fact, looking to see if you're doing anything fraudulent, right? It's like, are you actually trying to cheat the state? I mean, you got a job for me and now you're trying to cheat me. If they find such a thing, it could go for a year. I mean, they could go back as many years, right? If they want. Okay. But normally, when you get audited, it tends to be between 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years. Yes.
Okay. And we had one other question here. Is there from Sue? Thank you. Is there a single resource where all the state Nexus parameters are listed? In other words, can someone go somewhere and see all this stuff all in one place? I thought you might say that.
We do have a wonderful health center that you can go visit, and give you a lot of information. And again, I hate to say this, but I bet this is going to be a lot of homework for the folks listening. Now they have to go back and figure it out. And so I think we do a good job in sharing what we've learned on legislation. But you can always go to the states.
Okay. Directly. Yeah. Go to the states directly. And I know, and Andy, in my business with Enciba, we work a lot. And this is actually one of the reasons we even did this session. One of the fellows at Grasshopper Mower, Trent, he was asking the question to me. He said, I've got all this marketplace presence now. I'm selling on Amazon 3P, and I've got all this now inventory in different states at Amazon fulfillment centers. If I'm selling, and sorry, Andy, I'm stealing your question here, but a little bit. But if I'm selling in these marketplaces, am I also I mean, does that put me in? Do I have to register in these states? I mean, that's not me selling. I'm selling through Amazon.
But you're getting money, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but doesn't Amazon, okay, fine. But the Amazon, I mean, all these marketplace facilitator laws now, right? Doesn't Amazon handle all of my tax nexus issues? And also, I mean, you got the whole income tax thing too. I mean, does the state now have a claim on if I'm a privately held business? I mean, anyway, marketplaces. What about Nexus?
It's a lot. And I will say this, income, state income taxation is totally different rules
Okay.
than sales and use tax. So
Okay.
I suggest, you might have another myth busting for that, just that specific subject. We're just literally doing the sales tax.
Sales tax, I know. Yeah, go ahead. So
tax.
on sales tax, marketplaces.
Yeah. And so the fact is, you have inventory all of a sudden, the moment that you do business with Amazon, likely that you might have inventory in 7 or 10 of the fulfillment centers, and therefore you should be registered by now already.
Wow.
Even if you're just selling through Amazon, because that's where your inventory is going to be. And actually, guess what? Inventory is a physical presence. So if you're registering because of physical presence, not even economic presence, right?
Man.
You have to add all of these things together and make a decision.
Okay, but so I have to now register and file in every state. If I'm selling 3P, and James, thank you for that. That's a good question. If I'm on Amazon and I'm selling 3P, in other words, I still own the inventory and they're my warehouse, I'm going to have to register basically in every state and file a return in every state, even though Amazon will pay the sales tax for me, right? I still have to register because I have physical inventory in those states.
And let's go back to, I think we don't have to overcomplicate it. I think people want to feel like there's a lot going on here because there is this wording all over the place. But bottom line is, if you are delivering items, if you're selling anything into any state, whether you have inventory or not, and you cross those thresholds, you have to register. You're getting the money. Amazon is not keeping that money, right? They might be helping you in a lot of things.
Okay.
But the reality is everybody is partaking in this wonderful world of B2B, and states are saying, if you are receiving any benefit, which means money, you should register and show the state. Even if you report $0 of sales tax or $0 or anything, you still have to report that you sold whatever dollar value.
Killer. Okay. What if Amazon owns the inventory? James asked. So what if they buy the inventory wholesale and they own it, and I'm not selling through? In other words, I'm selling to them like they're a regular distributor.
Yeah. Great question. Again, if they own the inventory, you sold it to them. So now you potentially have economic nexus depending on the value of how much money you got on the inventory.
And
so
where
if you
they're
sold
located.
$100,000 and you deliver it to Kentucky, right? The Kentucky facility, then you basically with one company, Amazon, you have created economic nexus for you.
Even if that company is reselling the product.
Absolutely. You're getting, you sold $100,000 and the Amazon might take it and they're going to sell it for $200,000. That's irrelevant. That's a whole
But I don't have to pay sales tax on that, Silvia Aguirre.
Well, it depends. It depends, right? It's like if you do not collect, then you get an exemption certificate.
Okay, got it.
What about states that don't charge sales tax?
That's a great question, right? So there's 5 states right now that do not collect sales tax, like Montana. It doesn't matter if you have physical presence in Montana, and you're delivering somewhere else. Is the threshold is for all the other states. So, but if you're delivering to Montana, there's no registration there, right? Because there's no sales tax there. But
that was
you will sell your inventory to Montana.
Yeah, for companies that move to no sales tax states that sell across the border to other states,
that's exactly
now
right.
have to collect sales tax.
Right.
You can run, but you can't hide. Apparently
not. My goodness. Okay, and can you tell us? There is some relief though in some of these marketplace facilitator laws, the way I understand them, Silvia, in that Amazon will pay, for example, or a vertical marketplace will pay the sales tax on behalf of the seller, but there's still, what you're saying, I think, is that so for Trent, he still has to register in these states, even if he's not, collecting tax. If Amazon's doing that for him, he still has to register. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's marketplace facilitator certificates as well, right? And so the bottom line is the states want to know who you are. Even if you're selling to Amazon, Amazon's helping out the best they can, obviously, but they cannot be you. They're doing their own business. They're just facilitating a lot of things for you. So even if you're selling through Amazon and Amazon says, I'm going to be reselling, they're a marketplace. So they'll give you a marketplace resale exemption certificate, for example. It doesn't alleviate the fact that you have to do certain things. And it might be as simple that maybe you just file a return once a year, but you have to keep track of all of this and you still have to register.
Okay, and we have one more question here from Patricia. Is the threshold of 100,000 or 200,000 transaction or 200 transactions, 100,000 or 200 transactions, a monthly or yearly amount?
Yearly.
Yearly.
Yes.
Okay. All
yes.
right,
But again, I encourage everybody to review all the documentation to make sure it's understood.
Oh, review all the. Okay. All right. So, okay. Any other questions, Andy, you want to bust here before we go to our poll question? We got about 3 minutes left.
No, I'm still trying to process all this. And I think these are surprising facts. I think things have changed recently. Some of the stuff I didn't know. I'm learning this myself as we speak. And I think by virtue of the fact that we're getting questions like we are, sadly, there are many people who also don't know these things.
I think you're totally right, Andy. And what's fascinating, I think, to me, I hear this from a lot of B2B companies, and we've got some great ones on the line today, Zebra's here, Toyota, 3M, et cetera. I mean, companies are not, some cases, they're using this tax nexus issue as a reason not to do e-commerce. My personal opinion is there's no reason not to do this. And we'll find out if we busted the myth in a second, but Silvia, your company, Avalara, has solved a lot of these issues and automated a lot of it. I think it's an excuse, and companies need to take action on e-commerce, regardless of these issues. So the opportunity is too big. But let's go ahead, and we have just a couple minutes left. Let's go ahead and pop the question. Did Silvia, the asphyxiator Aguirre, bust the myth? Answer the question, everyone, please. We've got a whole ton of you on the phone here today on the line. So, and by the way, Silvia was a contender on an unwebinar we had last year. Thus the name Asphyxiator. She doesn't actually, kill people. She asphyxiates.
Wait, we don't know that. We don't know that for certain.
No, geez.
Don't
start any rumors here. All right. Let's keep them coming in, guys. We got about 2/3 of you. Keep them coming in. Come on, we're gonna give you another.
While we're waiting,
seconds.
actually, if I could just ask Silvia a quick question. So, is there something that's coming soon that people need to be paying attention to? Because this changed 5 years ago. Okay, so we reset 5 years ago, but now in the year 2022, with everything changes, is there anything coming up in 2023 in particular that people need to pay attention to so they get blindsided?
Well, this was very big. I mean, in the history of sales senior stacks and our nerdy world, the change was very dramatic and very big, and it affected a lot of people. And as you can see, we're still trying to get the word out, right? I mean, it is very difficult. As far as changes, I can tell you this, Andy, there's changes all the time, changes to legislation, regulations. I mean, there's probably the tax rates changed every month. You can have like 130,000 changes happening in a year, depending on what you do in business. But I don't see any huge legislation like what we saw with South Dakota versus Wafer.
So it's just processing and digesting what's happened 5 years ago and is constantly changing right now anyway.
Got it. Well, okay, guys, we got the results of our poll. Robert, let's go ahead and share those. And Miss Asphyxiator, you have busted the myth. Congratulations. Well done. She's excited. You share that out on your LinkedIn and everywhere else. You are officially crowned a myth buster. So congratulations. Folks, this session will be available on demand on our website. You can register for that. This has been a great session. Silvia, I want to thank you for your myth busting professionalism, and hopefully we'll see you again on one of these soon. Andy, any final words for our audience?
Yeah, it wasn't too painful, was it, Silvia? You survived.
Oh, love it.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much. And if you have any follow-up questions, I see we even have more coming in here. So Silvia will be available. Send them our way. We'll get them back out to you. We'll answer as many as we possibly can. Thank you, everyone, for participating in our Mythbusters session. We will see you next time.